What if the reason you've never quite felt like you belong is because you're not originally from here? In this episode of Truth Be Told, I sit down with Daryl Anka, known worldwide for the channel for Bashar, to explore extraterrestrial contact, soul origins, Atlantis, and why disclosure may be closer than ever. Are we on the brink of open contact? Have we already been guided behind the scenes? And what does it mean to be part of a galactic family? If you've ever felt a deeper cosmic connection, this conversation is for you. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Please welcome to the Truth Be Told studios for the first time, world-renowned Daryl Anka on behalf of Bashar. Well, look who I have. From the stars, we have Bashar. How you doing?
Great. How are you today?
You know, I'm blessed and I'm glad that you're here. It's like I said, I've not had you on my show before, so it's an honor to have you here and to share your knowledge.
My pleasure. Thank you again for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Well, just to get started, for people coming up in February 20th through 23rd, the Conscious Life Expo. Oh my gosh, I love this expo. I've been going for many, many years. And Bashar has two events that he's going to be doing, but unfortunately for the people on the Sunday night, it's sold out. So guess what? There's not...
Yeah, that's why we started doing the Monday nights as well.
And so now you can get your tickets. Please get them in advance because, as you've seen on Sunday, it's sold out. So get your tickets. You can go to consciouslifeexpo.com. It's Monday from 8 p.m. to 8:30 or 9:30 at the La Jolla Room. Beautiful location at the Hilton LAX. And but Bashar here is going to be talking to us today about some of the stuff he's going to touch on, but I'm sure a lot more.
I'm talking to you. Bashar's not talking to you.
Okay. Daryl's going to be talking, but right. I'm excited just to, get to know you and have my audience. I'm sure, again, they know who you are. So, but can I ask you this? I've been doing this a long time, and one thing that really intrigues me about you, you describe yourself as a extraterrestrial being from the future, and I'm excited to talk to you about.
Yeah, not
Bashar.
Me.
Bashar, yes. And as Daryl, when did you become connected with Bashar? When did you realize that you had a gift to bring Bashar into this world to spread the message about our future?
Right. Well, that happened 41 years ago.
Wow.
When I was doing research into all sorts of different metaphysical phenomenology, and I had been listening to a particular channel who was doing seminars, and eventually the entity coming through that channel offered to teach a channeling class. Now, I didn't think I was actually going to become a channel. I just wanted to understand how channeling could be taught in a class, because all the things I had read previously to that was that it just sort of happened to people out of the blue. They kind of like lost consciousness and somebody else told them, hey, you've been talking for the last 2 hours, and they would wake up and have no memory of that. So I was curious to understand, how do you teach something like that? And in the 12-week course, which was a series of different guided meditations to put you in altered states, to get in touch with whatever level of consciousness within yourself that you wanted to do for whatever purpose. It wasn't assumed that you had to become a channel.
Right.
But about halfway through the 12-week course, when in one of the guided meditations, I received what I can only describe as a telepathic download of a whole bunch of information in a split second. And part of that information was the memory of having made an agreement to do this in this life with Bashar, an understanding that the UFOs I had seen 10 years prior to the class were a way of getting me to start doing the research I needed to do, so that when the time came, I would be better prepared and understand what was happening.
Right.
And along with an image of Bashar's face in my head, I got the message, now is the time to start doing this if you still want to do this.
Wow.
And now, all of this was going on in a split second, and I thought, am I hallucinating? Is this a side effect of the meditation or something? But the minute this happened to me, I hadn't said anything, but the entity talking through the teacher stopped talking to the class and turned to me and said, there is an entity here for you right now, if you're ready to begin. And then when I opened my eyes and I looked around, I noticed that one of the other classmates behind me had sketched Bashar's face on a piece of paper, exactly what I saw in my head. Somehow she had picked up on this too. So I immediately had two outside validations that this wasn't just my imagination, that something real was happening. And so I decided, okay, let's see where this is going to go. I decided to pursue it. I kept practicing in the class, and I did well enough that the teacher asked me to co-channel the next class with him. So I started doing that to gain more practice. And it was during that class that a woman approached me, and she was going to do a doctoral thesis paper on the connection between channeling and psychology. And she wanted to use me as one of her subjects.
Wow.
And I would go to her house, I would channel for her friends, and then she would take her notes. And, again, it was just that kind of word of mouth started spreading, and more people kept showing up week after week. And we finally had to do it, twice a week to accommodate everyone. And then we had to do it in different houses that were larger to accommodate everyone. And then we had to rent hallways to accommodate everyone.
Wow.
People started asking me to go to different cities, different countries. And here I am 41 years later. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how it happened.
That's pretty impressive. And I'm sure building that relationship with Bashar probably took some time, like any relationship, of not only believing in him, but believing in yourself. And
absolutely. It's a process, definitely a process, requiring a lot of introspection, inner investigation, and, willingness to just see where it goes. You can't be self-conscious about these kinds of things. You have to understand that there is a purpose to it, that it can serve a positive function, that it isn't a true altered state, that can bring through information in a very different, synthesized way that can help people move forward in their lives. So it was for those reasons, and the feedback I kept getting from people about how beneficial the information was to them when they applied it in their lives, and what a difference it made. And that was the reason I kept going, is because I was getting the feedback that it was helping people. So
the audience and you have a large audience, but the audience that you work with and speak to through Bashar, what do you think majority of these people are seeking?
Well, I believe they're seeking to understand how life works, who they are, what their purpose is, how they can be part of what's going on, the changes, the transformations on the planet, and why they're here at this time, what's happening, and how can they be involved, or how are they involved. So, I think Bashar answers a lot of those questions with his information and gives them an understanding of where they fit, what their purpose is, how they can be engaged and involved with society in a very positive and constructive way, and how they can affect their lives in a very positive and constructive way, how they can basically live happier lives and be of service to others in doing so.
I think the mass majority of the humanity on this planet, the one thing that I appreciate about you and Bashar is you consider yourself a contact specialist, which
he does.
He does, but it's trying to prepare the Earth for extraterrestrial contact. And from your perspective as Daryl, what does that preparation involve, and how close is humanity to being ready for this open contact?
Well, it involves raising our vibration to be more frequency compatible with extraterrestrials that are highly advanced and operate on a very high frequency level of energy. And that takes self-investigation, letting go of things like fear-based beliefs, negative beliefs that lower our frequency, lower our vibrational rate, so that we can interact with beings that have had thousands, if not millions of years of evolution to achieve certain levels. Now, I believe that we have been in contact with them for quite some time behind the scenes. And I believe that the idea of open contact is relatively imminent and inevitable at this point, and will probably happen within a couple of years, because it's the culmination of what's already been going on for decades. It's not like something that's just all of a sudden sprung upon us.
Right.
It's something that has been building for a long time. It's just been being done in secret. It's being done, like I said, behind the scenes. But now there's enough people that are exploring the idea that ET contact could be possible, that extraterrestrial life could exist. The UFO sightings and things like that have now been discussed out in the open without ridicule. Whistleblowers coming forth with things that they know about UFO experiences, military people, Congress now having hearings about making sure that they establish laws whereby people coming forward in the military don't lose their careers, don't get ridiculed, that whistleblowers don't get punished, that their careers don't get damaged by coming forward with this information that they have been exposed to for a long time and now revealing to the public, so that we can understand that there's a lot more going on here on Earth than we have been led to believe, that there is a whole other reality here that we're about to be exposed to. So I think slowly over time, we've been being prepared for this. And I think we're at the point where disclosure is about to occur in a very large way. And that would lead more quickly to the idea of being introduced openly, publicly, to the fact that extraterrestrials have been here for quite some time.
When we say slowly preparing, because I've heard every year, I've been doing this around 15, 16 years, almost every year, the year of disclosure. And after a while, you're like, okay. But
yeah, but now you're actually seeing the things that herald that, like the congressional hearing.
Right.
Those things have not happened before.
That is
and
true.
They're happening more and more and more often, and more people are coming out that are high up in some of these organizations talking about this stuff now for the first time. So now you're really seeing the signs and indications that disclosure is about to happen. Even Steven Spielberg is coming out this year with a movie called Disclosure Day. So, it's all of these kinds of synchronistic symbols and indications that we're getting ready to learn the truth about this.
So it's like mom and dad saying, I don't want to tell little Jimmy that such and such, the Easter Bunny isn't real. What is the who's keeping the information from us? Because if the extraterrestrials wanted to come down, they're just going to come down. They don't care if.
Yeah, no, it's an agreement on the basis of certain agencies on Earth and also the extraterrestrials that they have to understand when we're actually ready for this information. Yeah. So the secret has been being kept by both sides, both humans on Earth and that are part of these programs, and also the extraterrestrials, basically indicating when the correct time would be and how that exposure would happen, how it would be laid out in phases in a way that we can handle it, in a way we can absorb it, sort of, baby steps, bite-size bits of information. So even when open contact occurs, I believe it will still happen in phases to allow us time to get used to the fact that extraterrestrials are here. Now, again, not all people probably will right away.
Right.
But I think that there is something important about the timing that over the next couple of decades will allow us the time to very slowly absorb the fact that ETs are here, will be introduced to maybe one species, maybe another, and over time get used to the fact that there may be several different species that have been engaged with Earth for quite some time. So it's a process, and that's okay. And eventually, I think the majority of humanity will come on board with the fact that we are, whether we've known it or not, part of a galactic family.
Yeah, and I think the evolution of humanity is kind of been stunted because many of us, I mean, you and I know we are connected to this galactic family, but still majority, I think, may not feel that, and if they do, they keep it suppressed. But Bashar,
yeah, it's funny because it's kind of the biggest secret that everyone knows.
I know, right?
Because when you start talking about things to certain people and they feel comfortable sharing the things that they have experienced, then you find out a lot more people have been exposed to this stuff. They're just not talking about it on the surface. But when something happens like full disclosure, I think you're going to hear a lot more people coming out go, yeah, I had a sighting. Yeah, that happened to me. Yeah, I had an encounter. Yeah, I was abducted. Yeah, this, that, and the other thing. It'll probably all start spilling out, Yeah.
Yeah. I know Bashar has talked about we live in a permission-based universe. What are the main ways humans unknowingly kind of revoke their own permission to evolve? Because I think that's where we're lacking.
Yeah, but this is what the Earth School is all about, so to speak. This is about the idea of forgetting who you are so you can start remembering who you are from a new point of view. It's about cleaning the slate so you have a fresh start to discover something new about yourself. Because there's a big difference between, in spirit, knowing everything, and in physical reality, experiencing everything. Big difference between those two things. It's like you can know everything there is by reading books about how to build a house. But when you start holding a hammer and nailing boards together, you learn things you cannot learn when you're just reading a book on house construction. You experience the idea of, oh, I didn't know what it felt like to use that muscle. I didn't know what it felt like to hit my thumb with the hammer and then learn not to do that again. So there's a big difference between the experience of knowledge and just the pure knowledge itself. Pure knowledge is not necessarily enough to really help a soul grow in the fastest way possible, but experience accelerates that process. You get to learn so many more dimensions and so much more depth about the knowledge that you have access to by actually flowing it through your physical body and experiencing life in a physical way. So I think that's what the Earth School is really all about for souls. It's a way for souls to grow in an accelerated way by sort of wiping the slate clean of the knowledge they have access to in spirit, and then laying out a life path that allows them to experience that knowledge in a first-hand way through physical reality. And it's all about transformation, limitation into freedom, negative into positive, dark into light. That's really what the Earth School is about, and why Bashar refers to us as a master graduating class, because things here are tough. It's a hard school to go through, but this is a university course. It's not a kindergarten class. So you have to expect challenges that are equal to the task of allowing souls to really earn their master's degree.
Are you sure it's not a doctorate? Because sometimes it feels tough.
That's what I'm saying. It can be a doctorate. It can be a PhD course. So absolutely, this is the school where souls can accelerate, but they have to really commit. They have to really face challenges in the way that allows them to understand that they have the power to do that. They have to persevere. They have to persist.
I would like to jump way back, even before 41 years ago, to Atlantis, because we
a little bit way back before 41 years.
Right. Yes. Why do you think Atlantis existed and was destroyed?
Well, again, Earth is a school of cycles. We rise to the top. Maybe sometimes we don't learn the lessons we need to learn. We wipe the slate clean. Again and again and again. But I think we're at a point now where we've done that enough times that we have, let's just say, earned the right to keep going without destroying ourselves again. And I think now the level on which we could destroy ourselves is of a scale large enough where we wouldn't be able to start again. And I think that this is why the extraterrestrials are starting to step in now. It's like before this is like, well, okay, certain civilizations grew to a certain point, certain, humans understood a certain thing, and then they kind of lost their way and everything collapsed. And there could be natural disasters that are part of that cycle to just sort of, again, bring us back to zero. So we start again and start again and start again. As a lot of indigenous Americans talk about, this is kind of like, going from one world to another,
Right.
the end of the fourth world and going into the fifth world, or exactly however they talk about it. So it's again a planet of cycles. But now we've arrived at a point where we could wipe everything out and make the place impossible for souls to incarnate into, again, to keep learning lessons. So I think now at this point, one of the reasons why this is sort of the end of that major cycle of cycles and the beginning of a whole new cycle of cycles is that the extraterrestrials realize that the Earth School is too important for humanity to completely annihilate any chance at all in the future of souls incarnating here by, irradiating the Earth with a nuclear war or something like that. So they're going to prevent that. And they're going to, I think, finally step in and say, okay, you've arrived at a point where we have to now work together. The school is too important for souls. You have to keep going, and we're going to help you keep going. We're going to help you dot the I's and cross the T's and fill in the few gaps that you are missing. And we're going to help you jump that threshold into a new age where you can still learn through challenges and stuff like that, but you're no longer going to be in a position where you're going to annihilate each other. And I think they've demonstrated this very clearly because there have been many different incidents around the globe where UFOs have positioned themselves over missile silos and scrambled the codes or activated the codes or shut the codes down of the missiles to demonstrate to us, you will not be allowed to have a global thermonuclear war. That's just too far. It's a step too far. Do what you want to each other on a small scale. We can't necessarily intervene with that, but we are going to prevent you from destroying the school.
Yeah. Yeah. How does Daryl, you,
Yes.
how do you stay positive? Because, I mean, we hear in
What
the
are my
news.
choices? What are my choices?
I know, fear.
I mean, yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying is that I know that from Bashar's teachings, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where you understand what he's talking about deeply enough that there simply isn't any other logical choice. It doesn't make sense to choose anything but the positive energy, because that's what brings you what you need. Because again, it's just physics. You can't perceive or experience what you're not the frequency of first.
Yeah.
So if I choose lower frequencies from holding on to negative and fear-based beliefs, I know I'm depriving myself of the information I need to move forward and attract what I need to experience a whole life, a more joyful life, a more positive life. So you get to a point where you go, well, it makes no sense to do that to yourself.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to choose anything other than that which you know is going to give you what you need in life. So you just stop doing it. You just stop making the alternate choice because it just doesn't make sense anymore.
But it's very difficult, I think, for a lot of people. I'm not much of a fear-based person.
I agree. But what you just said is one of the beliefs. It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
But people have been taught to believe it's difficult.
Yeah.
And therefore they perpetuate the fact that it's difficult. So you have to hear what goes through your head and what comes out of your mouth and stop and go, why? Why is that true? Is it true? Why do I believe that it has to be difficult? Does it really? Is that something I've just been taught? Is that just from past experience? Does it have to be my future experience? It's about questioning the things that we take for granted as facts and realizing that they're not necessarily facts. They may just be stories that a negative belief is telling you so you won't let it go.
Right.
Because beliefs have to perpetuate themselves in order for you to continue to have a physical reality experience, because physical reality is a projection of consciousness.
Wow.
And the only way that you continue to believe that it's a solid reality that you're living in is for a belief to wrap itself in emotions and thoughts and behaviors that reinforce the idea of the story it's trying to tell you, so you won't let it go. So when the opportunity for a change comes up that could serve you, and you automatically go, well, that's going to be really hard to do, that's the negative belief going, yeah, buy into that, because you're going to hold on to me much longer if you believe that this is going to be really difficult for you to change, because it's not difficult. You just have to know what the key factors are that allow the change to happen. And once you discover those, it actually becomes very easy. But the negative belief is going to say, no, I'm going to feed you stories like, if you change, maybe something worse will happen than what's happening now. So don't do that. That's to your benefit to stay away from that change.
Right.
Or again, I'm going to make sure that this change is going to be so difficult that it's just going to wear you down and tire you out. So please don't try. So you are fed all of these things from the negative belief, not because it's malicious, it's just designed to perpetuate itself. And all the tools it has to do that are negative tools, because that's its nature. So you have to start hearing what appear to be, or what feel like facts or givens, are just stories. And they're not any more factual than anything else you could choose to buy into.
Wow, that's powerful. That was powerful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you. I interviewed James Fox about a month ago of his new documentary. And one thing that really stood out to me was when the doctor was face to face with the extraterrestrial, and he said he felt nothing but love. And it actually really got to me, and even gives me goosebumps now. Why do the extraterrestrials, why are they so passionate about us?
Well, again, they recognize that Earth is an extremely important school for the advancement of souls. They are all about service to the whole, service to existence, to creation. They have evolved to the point where, like I was saying, they just recognize that there's no other choice that helps everyone. And when you help the whole, you help yourself, because you're part of the whole. So it's about serving others and getting the benefits from the whole that you're serving. It's about understanding that everything is interconnected. Everything is an expression of one thing. So you can't really separate yourself from any of that. I mean, it kind of goes back to the, biblical phrase, what you do to the least of these, you do to me. Everyone is swimming in the same ocean, and if you pollute the ocean, you're living in that pollution. So it is to everyone's benefit for them to give us the information that allows us to understand more clearly who we are, that we're part of all that is, part of creation, that we're all interconnected, that we all have the self-empowerment to create whatever will actually be of benefit to ourselves and to others. And they're just trying to let us know this is the lesson that you're sort of learning through this physical modality, is that you are a part of creation and capable of making choices that will serve everyone as well as yourself. And so why not go in that direction? Because it allows the whole to expand. See, the idea of the expansion of existence is the structure of existence never really changes. It is what it is. But the relationship to it, the experience of it, and your perspective of it, that's what constantly changes. So that's how creation expands, is through every single individual finding that new relationship, that new perspective, that new experience of existence. And through each and every individual that is a part of the whole expands. So we're helping creation continue to expand by having all these different experiences that allow us to discover who we are from all these different perspectives. You could say that, everyone in existence is another way that creation has of experiencing itself, if you're looking at it from the whole perspective.
Yeah. 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 I love this conversation. I don't get to have this conversation too often, so I appreciate it. I remember growing up, and I'm sure many people have said this, I don't feel like I'm part of this family, meaning like my siblings, I felt complete, like, how did I get to be a part of this family? But now I hear more and more people saying, I'm not from here.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're all not from here.
Right.
Originally. I mean, we're all souls. Souls are eternal, infinite. We all exist at the same moment, in a sense, but we have different experiences. And the idea of I'm not from here comes from an awakening to the realization that we have connections to all sorts of different places, that we are eternal, we are infinite, and Earth is not our origin. It's simply one experience along our path. So when people start waking up to those connections and start feeling those connections, they go, oh, well, yeah, I'm from Sirius, or I'm from Pleiades, or blah, blah, blah. But what they're experiencing is the fact that everyone has those connections, and they're starting to realize we all have those connections. I mean, physically, those beings, those people are from Earth. But energetically, they've made connections and recognize they have connections throughout the universe. There are ones that are relevant for the life we're living right now on Earth, like Pleiadian connections and Arcturus connections and Sirius connections and things like that. And that's the ones they're starting to pick up on, because they're relevant for the Earth path in terms of the extraterrestrials that are engaged with us right now to help us move along. So they're starting to have their senses awaken to the fact that we have all these energetic connections. And so, yeah, none of us are, quote unquote, from here. We're from everywhere and nowhere. But that's one of the symptoms of waking up, to recognize that you have these connections, energetic links to other beings, other places, parallel realities, past, future lives, so on and so forth.
Through your work, how many of these people that you feel have been part of your soul family? Because we talk about that often, about we come to this planet and we feel like, oh, I feel like I've known you. But how many people that you...
Most of the people that you develop really strong relationships with, and they don't even have to be positive relationships.
Right.
But strong relationships with are usually part of your soul family.
Wow.
Because there are thousands of members in your soul family. So you play different roles for each other. So most of the strong relationships in your life, the ones that teach you something, the ones that put you in front of challenges, things like that, the ones you have close connections to, positive or negative, are usually members of your soul family that have agreed to play a role so that you can learn what you need to learn and they can learn what they need to learn.
I had also spoke with Caroline Corey about off-world past lives. I had a past life regression. I didn't go back just one or two, but I had a reading with Sylvia Brown in the 90s about pretty much saying I've had many past lives, but we never talked about off-world.
Oh, yeah, that's possible too. I mean, obviously most of the past life connections that we usually connect to are having to do with Earth incarnations, because that's the path we're on at the moment. Therefore, those are usually the most relevant.
Right.
But again, people in regressions can also pick up on lives they may have had in other civilizations, because you're not held down to any particular place. When you are a soul, you have infinite choices. You have the free will to choose any kind of an experience whatsoever based on whatever it is you want your soul to grow and to learn from. So yeah, we probably all mostly have lives in other places too, but we'll generally, when we're seeking answers for what's going on right here, right now, we'll generally tap into the ones that are relevant for our Earth incarnations, because that's the path we happen to be on at the moment.
And before we get out of here, has there ever been a message that you were weary, or was it hard? Well, as in hard to tell, because it was. Did Bashar always give you positive news, or was it ever any news that you were worried to give to the audience?
Well, no, because they impose a kind of a filter on their consciousness to make sure that anything that they're going to have access to is going to serve us in some way, shape, or form. So if it is something that he says, it's important for the audience to know it, whether it's actually positive or negative. Because, especially in things like what we call predictions, because basically he's saying there's no such thing as a prediction of the future. There are many probable outcomes that could happen. A prediction is a sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made. And if that energy doesn't change, it'll come to pass. So sometimes he has talked about things that are not necessarily positive things, but to give us an opportunity to understand where our energy lies at the moment, so that if we don't prefer that outcome, we can do something about maybe changing it down the line. So a prediction can actually render itself obsolete by being made known.
Right.
But if there's so much momentum behind it that its inertia is unlikely to change direction, then sometimes he'll give us that so that we can at least be better prepared as to how to handle something that may not necessarily be the most positive thing, and learn how to use it in a way that would actually deliver a more positive outcome ultimately, or that we can learn a lesson from that will teach us something that we can use in a positive way. Like, for example, I believe it was in 1998, and this is in one of the recordings back then, where he predicted that there would likely be a large terrorist attack on New York before the end of 2001. So obviously we got that.
Right.
He felt that that was unlikely to change, but it gave us the opportunity to understand how to prepare for something like that, and that the world would drastically change after that, so that we would understand what the consequences of such actions are, and maybe in the future how to prepare ourselves to prevent things from happening like that again. So he will deliver news that he feels is going to help humanity change, whether the news immediately is positive or negative. It only gets blocked when it doesn't serve humanity at this moment, or it's not appropriate for him to say something. Then the filter kicks in and he won't have access to it.
That makes sense.
And he'll trust that not having access to it is a sign that we're not supposed to know about it right now.
Because if the purpose is to help humanity, if it's not going to change, then why?
Yeah.
Why? Well, to close out, I'd like to ask if humanity is really on the threshold of contact and a major shift in consciousness, which I'm feeling even myself.
Yeah.
What would you want most people to remember right now? Not as fear, not as prophecy, but as guidance on how to live their everyday life.
Bashar delivers this in the form that he calls the formula, which is basically an instruction manual. It's 5 steps that are the way in which we create our reality experience, so that he gives us these 5 steps so we can do it more consciously instead of unconsciously, and more predictably in terms of experiencing a positive outcome. In a nutshell, the 5 steps are basically: act on your passion. Number 2, take it as far as you can till you can take it no further. Number 3, act on your passion with no insistence or assumption of the outcome. And number 4, stay in a positive state no matter what happens. And number 5, investigate your belief systems and let go of the fear-based and negative ones. Now, there's more to it than that. We don't have a lot of time to go into the depth of it.
Right.
This is why we have different events, and I will be teaching classes about this stuff so people can really lock into it. But essentially, it's an instruction manual for how you create your physical reality experience in a positive way, and how you expand your life more constructively. So the idea basically is boiled down to, it's very important to know yourself very clearly and to be yourself and not anyone else. The most difficult thing we can possibly do is try to be someone we're not. But that's what a lot of people try to do, instead of really being true to themselves, being who they are, and being authentic. So it's that authenticity, knowing who you are, the ancient phrase, know thyself, knowing who you are, knowing why you believe what you believe, making sure that that's really in your best interest to continue believing it, finding out why you're holding on to something that doesn't serve you, being transparent with yourself, knowing yourself, and then being yourself are probably the most important things, not only for our own lives, but for being able to raise our vibrations to make us more vibrationally compatible with beings that have been doing this for millennia, which is the extraterrestrials. So you're getting from an extraterrestrial source, theoretically, the instruction manual for how to interact with those out in the cosmos who've been doing this for thousands, if not millions of years, and a way to become part, more consciously, of our galactic family.
Well, I cannot wait to Conscious Life Expo. I hope I get to see you. I hope I get to be a part of the workshop and unfortunately the Sunday is sold out, but you have another shot at Monday, February 23rd, 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. La Jolla at the Conscious Life Expo. Get your tickets now, because I guarantee it's probably going to be a sold out crowd again.
I will also on Monday morning at 11 a.m. be teaching a class myself on getting in touch with negative beliefs and how to change them. So there are two things going on Monday. 11 o'clock, a class that I'm teaching on how to change negative beliefs, and then the channeling itself that evening.
And if you can't make it to Conscious Life Expo, go to bashar.org or Instagram Bashar channeling, right?
Bashar.org is where you can connect to anything that is officially sanctioned by the organization,
But thank you so much for being here, Daryl. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for doing this. It's always a wonderful opportunity for these kinds of windows that you provide for sharing this information. So I deeply appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please share, like, and subscribe to our channel. And make sure you support all of our guests, especially Bashar and Daryl. We hope that next Friday, we'll be back with another amazing guest. And until next time, take care of yourself and each other.